what's up, dudes and dudettes? I'm Lauren. I like to combine astrology and the law of assumption and all that stuff. Today, I wanted to get into the sun sign. I made a video earlier about how I look at my natal chart and how I try to look at my natal chart and all that stuff. But this is about your sun sign. I'm not a professional at all. This is just something that I do as a hobby because I think it's fun, you know. But anyways, so this is what does your sun sign mean? All right. So in astrology, you're not actually just one sign. A lot of people will be like, oh, well, I was born June 4th, so that makes me a Gemini, right? So that's cool, but that is just your sun sign, okay? So like I said, the sun sign is the very basis of your personality. Your sun sign is where your strength and your willpower lies. Whenever you embody your sun sign, it's like your spirit is in its most strong state. Sometimes it's actually very normal for people to not really relate with their sun sign. This is the experience I had because I am a Gemini sun. I did not relate with a lot of the stereotypes about my sign. I did not embody any of those things for a while. Just because your sun sign is like Taurus, it doesn't mean you're always that Taurus personality. It just means that whenever you embody the sign of Taurus, your spirit is in its strongest state that way. But there's actually a lot of things that come into play with your sun sign. It's not just about what sign it is, but you also have the houses and the aspects, which I'll get into in just a second. So real quick, so you have 12 houses in your natal chart. You have the first house, which is the house of self. Second house, the house of finance, money, and value. Third house, communication, siblings, and early childhood. Fourth house, which is your home. Fifth house, which is creativity. It is the stage. A lot of really good actors have placements in the fifth house. The sixth house is all about daily routine. It's about things that are considered mundane. It's about daily routine, diet, exercise, work. Seventh house is all about relationships, specifically close relationships or romantic relationships. Eighth house is all about psychic energies. The eighth house is also coincides with value the same way as the second house, so it can also deal with like finances and things like that. Ninth house is about spirituality. It's about philosophy and higher learning, whereas the third house is more like basic level learning. The ninth house is like expansive spiritual learning and stuff like that. 10th house is the house of your public identity. It can show you what you're going to be like way later in your life. It shows you how to succeed in your life path. 11th house can show how you are socially. It can show what your social dynamic looks like. And the 12th house is your subconscious, right? It's the stuff that's in the very back of your mind, and it's the house of self-undoing. It's all about subconscious things. It's less, the 12th house is kind of weird because it's very abstract, but anyways, you get the gist of it. Okay, so you have 12 possible houses that your sun can be in. Whichever house your sun is in, that area of your life is an area of your life that you need to master so that you can build a very strong sense of willpower and a very strong sense of self. Okay, so let's say if you have sun in the fifth house, if you delve really deep into things that are relating to the fifth house, so like creativity, being in the spotlight, if you like start getting into like musical theater or some bullshit like that, you know, it doesn't have to be those things specifically, but if you delve into things that are relating to the house of your sun, it's going to bring your sun out, and it's going to help you create a very strong sense of strength and willpower and self. That is the best way to use your sun sign to your advantage, is to embody the house and embody the sign. It's not necessarily that you're already aligned with your sun sign or whatever house. Some people, yes. For me, that definitely was not the case because I did not resonate with my sun sign at all for a very long time. I did not. And that also brings up another topic, which is your aspects. Okay, so aspects in your chart, basically what they are is they represent the relationship between two planetary energies in your chart. I will bring up an example in a second here. So if you have any aspects associated with your sun, those aspects are probably also going to come into play, and they're probably going to show through your basic sense of personality. And depending on how strong the aspect is, it might actually, the energy of the planet that's aspecting your sun might actually be stronger than your sun sign, depending. Which was most definitely the case for me. If you're like me and you have both Sun conjunct Saturn and Sun opposition Pluto in your chart, there's a very good chance that you grew up having a really hard time learning how to express yourself because you felt like it was wrong, or bad things happened whenever you expressed yourself, which that is, it's not so much that it's the chart that's dictating that, but the chart's just showing you things that you may or may not be unconscious of, which those things are not permanent. It doesn't mean like you're gonna live the rest of your life just not being able to express yourself. But that's why looking at the chart is so important, so that you can look at those energies and be like, okay, so this is what I need to work on. I need to work on clearing this weird mental shit about feeling like I can't express myself, right? So that's kind of what the aspects show you. Also, if you have harmonious aspects with your sun, those harmonious aspects can really strengthen that. Your harmonious aspects, which would be a sextile or a trine, those can kind of show you where you already have an advantage, and your harsh aspects can show you where you might have an obstacle that you need to somehow go around, resolve, or whatever. But again, it doesn't mean it's permanent. It doesn't mean that you're gonna die just having a hard time expressing yourself. It's just these are things you need to work on in this lifetime. Another interesting thing about aspects relating to your sun, so some people would say that your sun can also show you the concept that you have of your father, because your sun is also representative of the father, which Saturn is too. It's kind of interesting, but your sun can show you the kind of dynamic or the concept that you have of your father. It's not to say that this is actually how your father was, but it could just be the mental concept that you have of that person. So the chart can be indicative of that. If you feel like your father was very controlling or overbearing towards you, the chart could show that through having some kind of harmonious aspect towards Pluto or Saturn, etc. But if you have a lot of harmonious aspects to your sun, it could be that you had actually a really good idea of your father. And the same thing with the moon and your mother. So yeah, anyways, recap. Focus on the house that your sun is in, okay? You want to really, really, really hone in on that area of your life big time. And you want to like strengthen it as much as you can. It is a good idea to embody your sun sign as well, but I feel like the house is just a lot more important personally. And yeah, and if you see any like disharmonious aspects towards your sun, really like do some deep diving into that. I can't talk about every single aspect all in one video. I just can't do it right now. That's all I got for today. Anyways, yeah, I hope that this video was informative and enjoyable to watch. Please go follow A Wellness Experience. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.